Hey, this is Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and move in a way that is completely free from inhibition and full of self expression. If you're new here, please go to www.centraldepoder.com. That is www.centrodepoder.com to get yourself signed up to get these free episodes delivered on your inbox every week. And today we have a very special guest. This is Bibiana Badenes. She's an author, and her body intelligence, a somatic set of practices for your well-being, it's going to be available for you soon. And she started in this research in body and mind experiencing through physiotherapy, and she is an advanced Rolf movement practitioner. I am very honored to have you here, Bibiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Raquel, for the invitation.
And we were chatting right now behind the scenes that Bibiana got first interested in Rolfing, not from intellectual pursuit per se, but she was suffering from back pain, and she had an experience with a Rolf practitioner that gave her like a kind of therapy that completely changed her view of perhaps even of the world itself. So, would you tell us a little bit more about the story of how that happened? How a single movement can actually change the course of a destiny, such as in your case?
So I was a teenager with scoliosis, back pain, and I studied physiotherapy. And right after I finished physiotherapy, I took a course in town. And this physiotherapy, he was not a Rolfer, but he was in an ashram in India with some Rolfers, and they were exchanging work. And he said that he learned from them. So he took me as a model for the class. It was a class that they were doing myofascial techniques, and that was very new at that time. So he touched me, and immediately I felt something very different from other practitioners that I have had. I felt that he understood me. That was that was a communication. It was like, ooh, it was like, it's not about treat me here or do this here. He understood me, and it went very deep. And I had to tell you that I did not recognize this till many years after, when people were asking me, why did you study Rolfi? So it's true that I asked him in a very humble way, why did you learn this? And then he told me I was with some Rolfers in India, la, la, la. And then that word, Rolfing, I want to learn this. So I bought the book. I went, there was one book at that time, I went to Barcelona. It was a Rolfer from Chile, the only one in Spain, very few in Europe. And that was the year 1991. So, and then I would start receiving the session. But I think that touch is communication. It goes beyond any technique. It goes beyond any manipulation. Touch is working with your nervous system and your own presence, your own communication among other cells moving. We're communicating because we are alive. So touch could be very profound. It could damage people, but it could be a very healing process. Besides any manipulation and besides anything,
the essence of touch. And Wow, we are in in the digital era where everything is like mostly imagination and electronic devices, and relations are not 100% virtual, but right now we are connecting virtually. So something that is endangered, like an endangered species, like something that is like at risk of getting lost of or diminished in our modern day and era, I believe is touch. And not only touch from others, but the the ability to touch ourselves, and not only to
And
place.
present. And the
Yeah,
presence of having someone alive in front of you,
yeah,
which is
and the
how we are
presence.
social beings.
Yeah,
So
and that is something that is unique to being flesh and blood and bones. Like, you cannot be touched. I mean, you can be emotionally touched by a movie, but it's not the mere experience of touch that, like you say, he touched me and I knew he understood me. I was understood. And
mm,
this is something that happens in the experience of being aware of ourselves as a body, not only having a, a thinking mind in a body that is just a vehicle. No, we are not like, I believe we are not souls in a body as a vehicle. I agree actually with Mabel Todd that said we are thinking bodies. Like, we are bodies until we
mm.
are not, and then we are like biodegradable and we become trees and everything. And I believe that it's very important to come to this fleshly experience. So what's your take on the humanness in touch?
Well, I think that it's touch and it's the presence of the other persons and the movements. The movements that how we get into connected. Maybe of course touch is needed because we are mammals, and
Yeah.
I always said, and probably this will be the title of the next book. It will be more mammals to be humans, because it's I think that we need to feed the mammal, the part that it make us to go and to and to develop as especially the first year of life. We need touch, we need movement, we need exploration. No one is teaching us how to move. And on the other hand, we are moving because we feel the support that is through touch, by holding, by moving. And then we are imitating the people around us.
Yes.
So rigidity from other people's at all levels, could be mental or physically, which at the end could be the same. It goes really deep into a nervous system and into the fascia, into the connective tissue, and that's how we move. So the people that we have around is really through our bodies we are communicating, and I think that that's why it's so powerful, the somatic movement, because it gives us the opportunity to know more about ourselves, how we move,
Yes.
and what we do in our bodies,
Yes.
sort of just what you sense, which is very important, but what do you know? What do you do? What is your pattern? Do you have repetitive patterns? So at the end, if we always do the same movements, gravity, we want to minimize the force of gravity. And as we age, go, 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 go. So we
Down.
need to change movements. And if we always do, all these kind of movements that make us to go into always the same direction, we ended up being affected by gravity. So we need to do variability of movements.
I
And
agree.
awareness and consciousness give us the possibility to change that.
Yeah, awareness. I love how you say that somatic movement is a great way to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And precisely this somatic movement has a natural quality to it. It's not like a repetitive hyper sagittal plane kind of movement, just like the kind of movement that you see mainly in gyms, like assisted by machines. Not that that is 100% bad, but if you don't, it's a frame, and it's good to have a certain frame, but it only has that function as a reference. It's like, you know how to spell the ABC, but knowing how to spell and how to write, it's not for you to just write A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, the idea of knowing the letters is for you to articulate words and write sentences. And even beyond that, we have the vocabulary to express ourselves and convey meaning in the world. And this is the image that what you said led me to, that we need to have this natural variability of movement to counteract the
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 force
relentless
of
squeezing force of gravity. I mean, maybe we can see gravity as the tremendous love that Mother Earth has for us and doesn't let us fly away into space. But still, is a gravity is a crushing force. Just drop a cup of tea in the floor and you will see how it crashes. And the same happens with us if we stay in this frame. If we always use what we know and our ability to repeat that frame, which leads me to ask you about connective tissue and its role in pain and pleasure, because uh, I am not an expert in fascia and connective tissue, but I do know that as it's also its function, not only connectivity, but structure and support, it's it's flexible, but to a point. Like it works as a framework as well. Like, yes, you can make your hamstrings more flexible, but they won't give away too easily, because it's a good idea that they keep the support. Or for example, the connective tissue in tendons and ligaments, like the role is to stabilize. And for example, sprain is a problem of losing the contention of connective tissue. So in a way, I feel that connective tissue can become a jail of, of, of repeated movement that then keeps you trapped and leads to dysfunction and pain.
Mhm.
At least that's a little bit about what I've seen in my experience as a Pilates teacher and a Pilates master teacher, providing teacher trainings. But I want to ask you also on another aspect of connective tissue that I just intuit, that is its role in pleasure and the experience of sensuality and fluidity. So yeah, that was a long question. So in short, tell us about fascia, connective tissue,
What's the
pain,
question?
pleasure.
I think that, first of all, without pleasure, uh, we will not be able to go on, because we're not built to do things with effort, to maintain the effort in related to movement. You know,
Wow. Wow.
a
Yeah.
structure is built to be able to move with minimum effort. That's economy of function. We're not built to move with a lot of effort, that could be for something specific, okay? But you could see people, like if you go to Africa, I'm in love to watch people, how they move, how sensual,
Yes.
be, and how strong.
Yeah, efficient.
And it doesn't matter if they are overweight or not. There is a strength and sensuality just by the way of moving. Because, and there is not so much, you don't see that rigidity. Here we see either rigidity or kind of collapse.
Yeah.
It's
the extremes.
Yeah. There is no, and I think that in that balance of where Ida Rolf said the line, that imaginary line, that is a capacity of generate vectors against gravity, your own body weight, the distribution of your own body weight creates a good distribution, creates a force of reaction. So you are holding yourself with minimum effort and be able to move and even to carry 1/3 of your own body weight with no consuming of calories almost. So wow. That's how they move in Africa. We have lost that.
Yes.
And we have lost that. So, and probably the way we have domesticate ourselves in the Western countries had led us to go into a direction of movements that they're not very efficient. And we are fighting with that, and we don't feel strong. And we are doing kind of practices that they're not very, the fundamentals sometimes are a little awkward, I will say. And I think that the possibility of sensing yourself sensual, which is different from sexuality, they go, but the sensuality is the capacity of being fluid, the capacity of breaking your own pattern, I will say. Wow. Do you have the capacity of break your own pattern? Yeah. Do you allow yourself? So because you see people that all of a sudden it's something and you see sensuality. And you could see it in children, and you could see sensuality goes beyond any age. I think it's a capacity of moving fluid, moving in not like a direct direction. It's lost the direction. It's where is it? Where is it? This direction, and you feel yourself with an inner sensation of expansion.
Yes.
It's not compressed. You feel yourself, and all of this has to be possible because also the connective tissue they have discovered, linking to connective tissue that you asked me, and fascia. It has more sensory receptors than the skin.
Wow,
that's very new. That's very new. People, many of the explanations, even that Ida Rolf told us, how the body changed, probably today they are totally out of date. She was very good at understanding the whole body, how structure and function, how they work, but not how the manipulation we were doing, how the body was changing. We are changing because of the receptors, because the receptors and the nervous system. So that's why the touch is so important. And the receptors, depending on how you touch and what areas, they respond differently. So you don't need to do the same touch to everyone and to the same tissues. Yeah.
Yeah, it's personal. And
when you get this moving, that it's something that, as I say, it breaks your pattern. All of a sudden, the sensuality appears. And it could be, I think that it could appear at any moment. Doesn't
Wow.
have to be related to a sexual connotation or a sexual relationship. Yeah.
It can even be an expression of yourself along your lifestyle, as what I am seeing on what you say about most African people, that they didn't lost touch of their own sensuality, meaning their the innate pleasure in being and moving, because fortunately they are not submitted culturally in our in the same frames and modus operandi as we are in northern and western cultures. Their culture, many African cultures, I mean, I am not an expert, but what I see is that it's a dancing, for example, is is an important aspect of culture, and it's not just for special occasions. Like every movement, like washing the dishes and showering and breastfeeding and even giving birth and making love and walking in the street, or walking carrying one third of your weight as this gorgeous, beautiful, super elegant water carrier women in Africa, which is it's amazing. You can see literally that the base
I
of
know. I know.
water they are carrying
I
on
have
their
tried
head.
myself, and I feel so whole. I mean, totally. I felt handicapped. Totally. I felt that I could not do it. It was such an effort, and any age they weren't. I mean, they don't even. I mean, there's some things that we have to be careful of saying that has all positive things about carry things in the head, because I also have seen that um, by necessity many children have to carry heavy things, and they ended up having herniations, very bad
Yeah,
herniation on the groin.
yeah, yeah.
That's terrible because they cannot have the surgeries, and they could die of that. So I am.
Within a frame and context, like it's not nice to having
It's
to carry water,
Yeah,
but
we're
it's
talking about how you can be very strong and very sensual. And the thing is that,
very strong and very sensual. Yes.
yeah, and the thing is that in our society, the model that we have for or the pictures that people will imagine, it's compression. I'm compressed. I'm someone that is very compressed. We feel that is strong,
Yeah,
and
like
that's a big.
Schwarzenegger.
Maybe he is, and maybe
Maybe
sensual.
he is strong, but yeah, we live in a workaholic culture of overachieving, where this like martyrdom of killing yourself working, it's applauded and seen as, as the most heroic thing, when in actuality is like extremely violent and completely inefficient. Like better, faster, and stronger results are obtained through skill and dexterity. And that has a quality of seamless elegance and sensuality, and meaning there's a pleasure to it. And I believe that education or education plays a huge role, because
in
I am sure that
the
I yeah,
family and the culture that you live also, of course, is affecting us very much.
very
Yeah.
much. Yeah, so that's why we are creating this episode, and we have this space to share like the importance of going beyond our fixed patterns and understanding that rigidity built through repetition and stress and anxiety and the striving of the recognition of being somebody in this culture out of your self-sacrifice, to me it's wrong. That's not the way to do things. And the other way, the new way, is actually not new at all. Is It's our innate way, because like you said, Bibiana, like on the first year of life, like we are fully immersed in our mammal experience, and actually no one taught us how to
Mhm.
move. And it's, to me, it's impressive and fascinating to know that I learned to walk by myself, given
Yeah,
that it's an
everybody,
extremely
everybody.
everybody, and it's it's an extremely complex biomechanical pattern, because every joint in the body is moving
Mm.
when we are walking, like ideally. And even though if we are like a little bit crooked, like we all found a way to walk and move forward, and we learned that. But then we learned also, as very good girls and boys, to be seated, quiet, to at least 12 years on elementary school for hours. Like, I don't know how I survived school now that I think in retrospective.
Carry things in the head if you don't loosen up your pelvis. Impossible. And I'm going to say something that I have not said it in public. I had treated about in my career about 5,000 people with acute back pain, and the and it's not about treating that just doing 1 minute thing. It's working with them. And one of the things that I have realized, I cannot say 100% because that will be not maybe too arrogant, but I will say 99%. When people have back pain, there is something that they not connect, they lose the sensuality,
Yes.
especially when you get stuck. Okay, when and so in the last few years, when I'm working with people with back pain and I'm working on the tissues, or we're doing an exercise, one of the things that I tell them is, tell me one song that you like. Okay, so I play the song with not very low music, and I made them to be inside singing the song and getting very sensual, whatever is sensual for them. Some of them, they look at me like, what? Yeah. So I'm putting the music, and you become, no, I cannot move, I have pain. Do it very little. No. It changed totally the outcome of the session.
Wow.
This is working with the nervous
Wow.
system, the memories of pleasure, working. It's not only one
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
how we map things, and how we all of a sudden we get stuck and we get frozen. We want to do and we can't. So connect with the pleasure. It's a moment of, okay, I let myself. And the neck, I could be working in the neck and they have low back pain, and they're singing. So it's not about, it's about creating and not be going into their heads also with a
Wow.
repetitive movement.
Yes.
With a repetitive movement, you cannot have pressure.
Wow. Wow. I have like goosebumps for half an hour already listening to you and experiencing your words, because yes, when you're overthinking, you cannot have the experience of pleasure, because thinking, just thinking, is like frozen energy, and it's energy that gets stuck in your head or whatever you want to think that your mind is. And sensuality, it doesn't mean that it's something stupid. It's actually on the contrary. Sensuality is like an operating means of your innate intelligence, like the intelligence of the body itself. Because it's true, like when you're listening to your favorite song, you are not listening with your discursive mind in a frozen state. You are listening through the totality of your being and your
And
flesh.
to an experience,
Yeah,
usually an experience of joy.
an experience of joy. And that experience is in the present.
Mm.
Like you can only feel pleasure in the present. And in a way, like this falling back in the repetitive patterns is because we lose awareness of the moment and we are focused on the past or in the future or projecting, but we are not, like we may be walking towards our goal and we may be confident of our success and credentials and the people backing us up, but this repetitive movement that is finally crushed by gravity has this component of being distracted of the step we are giving in the now and in the here.
But
And
many people, they feel very comfortable doing repetitive movement because it has a structure.
yes,
That's why that's why in general, yoga or Pilates has been success because, it has a
yes,
structure. Not many people will go to free dance. We go to free dance with alcohol and at night, you know.
yes,
And but, people will not do yoga and Pilates so much at night, You
yeah,
want to, but dancing, in the middle of the day, just it gives you totally with no choreography. I'm not talking about dancing with choreography, but dancing to express as an expression. And I think that I think that we I think the next revolution of fitness, short of saying, it's gonna be more like a dancing
more like
movement.
a, more like a dancing and
When you
sensual.
move, imagine that you move in your hand. Okay, people move the hand, but can you focus when you move in your head what you're not moving? Or you're doing this, or you could do this. Can you focus on moving your feet while you're moving your arms? Instead of focus on what you move, can you focus on what you're not moving? And that's really, really creates the connective tissue movement.
The
And that,
connective tissue.
yeah, and that does not mean that the yoga is not good or Pilates. No, I'm not saying that. But if you do that, you need to move differently. If you do only dancing in this direction, you probably will have to. So we need to, as I said, and how I start, we need to have variability of movements.
Variability. Yeah. Yeah. Not also become aware of not falling in the pattern of not having a pattern. So it's like having the habit of being a cow. That I have been there because like sometimes I used to sleep at 3 in the morning and other days I was like sleeping in the afternoon and I was a whole mess, but I was very happy in that rebellious state, but it became very expensive, unsustainable. So, for example, I am experiencing now like getting up more or less when the sun rises and like calming down when the sun sets and maybe like just reading or something and sleeping early. And that certain frame gave me like support to be like more creative, like this is a moment to be creative, this is a moment to be like more like, I don't know, repetitive. But when it comes to movement, I believe that this sensual quality should also be, especially should be present in hyper constrained kind of movement like Pilates, yoga, fitness, because it's easy to just think of the abdominals and isolate the abdominals, or even ballet. Like there are people like really great ballet dancers. They move everything. Like they are very like almost liquid. So I feel that a very rigid kind of movement needs a special attention to be connected, because otherwise it, it becomes this gravity crushing kind of movement. So I love to have this understanding, and I agree with you, because I have seen how when my students, I do a lot of post rehab, like they have a surgery and then they go to physiotherapy, they get released, and before running a marathon or before going to their modus operandi, they come to me and we work in a sort of re-education of movement. And I have discovered that it's so important to work at the cause level of the symptom, because sometimes the surgery or a certain time of of direct intervention therapy are are definitely good with the symptoms once they are like unbearable, but they don't often address the cause. Like the pain in one knee can be because that's the good knee, and actually the other knee is the lazy one. So the one that gets like a prosthetic surgery is the one that actually got an extra load because was doing the right work. Or the low back, for example. So I have seen, and I agree with you, that the moment that the client or the student connects to sensuality, their own synergy, self synergy of recovered gets triggered, and they make a quantum leap like within, I don't know, 3 sessions. Like it's amazing. Like I work a lot with the pelvis because I am a
Mhm.
Pilates teacher. I come from Graham technique, so the center of power first and foremost. Though I like a lot, for example, the Alexander technique that works with the neck and etc. But what I want to say is that sometimes it takes more than a year for the person to connect the movement of the pelvis to the head. But I can see the moment when they
Mhm.
move the head in response to the pelvis, like their whole life changes. Like they get divorced, or sometimes even that dramatic, and or they get a new job, they change their hair color, they lose weight or gain weight or get pregnant, and
We workers are not working. I mean, I myself am also a physio, as I said, and I, of course I work with the symptoms and rehabilitation of whatever surgery it comes. But we work creating a better relationship. You can have knee surgery, and the surgeon will tell you that it's perfect, and you will still limping, and because maybe the relationship with the foot, with the hip, with the contralateral movement, it's not they're not speaking to each other.
integrated.
Creating relationship, it is what is really the success of any intervention, and I think that that sometimes is missing in the process. And the changes, they don't happen from one day to another. I mean, sometimes we're giving the input for the change, and that already creates further changes. As you move differently, you feel differently, you perceive yourself differently. So if you perceive yourself differently, you're going to move differently. Possibilities of movement comes a lot by the capacity that you have of your own perception. So this is also a key point for
Yes.
any rehabilitation, I would say. Yeah.
Yes, I love what you say, that if you perceive yourself differently, you will move differently.
Yes.
And that is something that I never thought about in regards to the connective tissue, for example. But like, especially, I don't know, me as a woman being so influenced that, or now what is trending is this lip filling to have like the lips like this or whatever, and the big nails and etc. So sometimes like my self-image get distorted as a puzzle of different parts instead of and pretty much visual because of the selfies and the projection. Now after the pandemics, we work a lot in a flat screen and we lost pretty much the touch of 3D. And and the image of oneself, it's not only an image or just a concept, but it involves the felt sense of yourself. Like, how does it feels? How does it senses at a fleshly level to be me? And I can say that I have lost that sensation for quite periods of time in my life. And I feel that is something we should never relinquish, the sensation of ourselves being
Mm.
embodied. And I like a lot thinking about the connective tissue as an aspect of ourselves that defines the shape, like the 3D, because it's like, I don't know, like a gossamer. You see the, for example, in Spanish is las telarañas que reflejan
Mm.
el rocío. So the gossamer spider web. So that's an image that I have of
Well,
of,
if you
of the fascia
take the fascia, the connective tissue is the organ of form. If
organ of
it
form. Yes,
give us what it gives us our shape, we are renewing cells. We are a totally different person almost every year by all the
yes,
renewed cells, but we still have the same structure.
yes,
So if we will be able, to take some of the cells, and we will still have the same shape.
yes. And to me, it gives me like a deep sense of self, like beyond my credentials and that I am Mexican and that I have my story and my dreams. When you know that you have your connective tissue that has your shape, and yes, it's your shape and it's steady, like you change your skin and your atoms every year, but still this shape of you that it's like your fingerprint can also change. and,
Mm-hmm.
and it change positively by expressing sensually, by connecting to pleasure, because a quality of sensuality, according to what I hear from you, is connectivity. So sensuality is not a rigid robot movement, but it's like, oh yes, I am moving my hand and I am feeling my opposite groin and I am feeling my pinky toe.
When you move in like this, when you have that sense of openness, spacious, um, you become more social, and that's why one of the things why people drink alcohol, because that make break their patterns and all this. So unfortunately, this is the society that we have created. We have to do that to loosen up and become more, well, some people can become more aggressive. I think that with alcohol you don't get something different of what you already had before, but maybe increase. If you are aggressive, you become more aggressive. If you are more sensual, you become more sensual. But it gives you, a capacity of at least sensing yourself differently. And when going back to the Africa thing that we were talking, I think that movement, they dance a lot, and when they move, they create music. So the music first. As they move, the body wants to create music, and then you create the instruments. So by the movement, So I think that this is something that I had it very clear when I saw it. Everything could be an instrument, because you can create noise, but if you have the movement really in yourself.
You like you become the musical instrument, and the rhythm emerges from you, and it's great to remember that that's in our capacity, and that we don't need to be in the dark and drink alcohol in order to loosen up. We just need to come back to the sense of touch, like what touch gives us, because it's a direct experience of connectivity in the totality of ourselves, not just as a thinking mind that has a lot to say. And yeah, I love what you say about low back pain, and how sensuality has become a key element for for recovery. And I know that each case is unique, and the best is that someone suffering from low back pain goes to an expert, like gets therapy. But still, I would like to ask you, maybe as a preventive measure, how, if you could share with us a little exercise or a little something to use sensuality to overcome low back pain or discomfort, if
Well, I think
something
that
comes to mind.
yes, you can be just lying down when people have back pain, lying down on your side, in bed or on the floor, comfortable. Play some music and touch yourself in the vertebrae and create micro movements. Okay, don't think about movement, just create micro movement. Imagine that there is a little wave coming, little wave with very little, and change direction. And if you have pain in one area, maybe you want to do it in your neck. The neck, of course, the whole spine is connected.
Yes.
So whatever you doing, as you were saying, whatever you're doing in your pelvis, so you have back pain, go into the neck, move the neck. You have neck problems, do it in the pelvis, do it, and do it in a way that that is not 1, 2 beginning and then right, left. It is
Okay.
like, I don't know what to do. Get confused with the movement. I don't know what to do,
Okay.
but move,
Non-linear,
not linear.
not linear, just an endless flow of pleasure and delight. Thank you so much. I love this exercise, and I think I am going to give it to myself. Well, I'm sharing already with everyone, but this is something that I will treasure for my bedtime rituals, to come into the parasympathetic dominance and come back to the body and to the restorative state, because that's a great way to like get out of overthinking and come
Mm-hmm.
back to fleshly sensuality, to
Mm-hmm.
this great domain of health and well-being that is at the core of our existence. Thank you so much, Viviana. This has been a delightful episode.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks to the audience.
Yes. So tell us, how can we know more about your work?
Well, I'm Bibiana Badenes, and I have a website with my name, so you can reach me there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Viviana. Very
Thank you.
honored to interviewing you. And also, thank you, Sensualist, for being here. Go to www.bibianabadenes.com. It's all with the big B. It's Bibianabadenes.com. And also, if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to awaken sensuality at www.centraldeepoder.com, which is www.centropodder.com. Until next time, remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share your flame.